Huckleberry Finn is the story of a boy who lived a great many years ago in the Mississippi River Valley. He was ignorant, unwashed, insufficiently fed, but he had as good a heart as ever any boy had. And he was the only really independent person, boy or man, in the community. And for this reason, I suppose, he was continually happy. Now, in this book, Huckleberry tells his own story, all by himself. You don't know about me without you've read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. That book was made by Mr. Mark Twain, and he told the truth. Mainly. Well, there's some things he stressed, but mainly he told the truth. Why, that ain't nothing. Well, I never seen anybody but lied one time or another without her Aunt Polly or the widow Douglas. The widow, she took me for her son and allowed she would civilize me. She cried over me and called me a poor lost lamb. She called me a lot of other names, too. But she never meant no harm by it. Well, then she dressed me up in some of them new clothes, and I couldn't do nothing but sweat and feel all cramped up. Pretty soon I wanted to smoke, but the widow, she wouldn't let me. She said it was a mean practice and weren't clean, and I should try not to do it anymore. Ain't that just the way with some people, though? They get down on this thing when they don't know nothing about it. She took snuff, too. Of course, that was all right, 'cause she done it herself. Then her sister, Miss Watson, a tolerable slim old maid with goggles on, she's all the time saying, "Don't put your feet up there, Huckleberry. Don't scrunch up like that, Huckleberry. Sit up straight. Can't you try to behave?" Then she told me all about the bad place, and I said I wish I was there. She got mad then. But I never meant no harm. All I wanted was a change. All I wanted was to go somewhere that I wanted particular. She said she was going to live so as to go to the good place. Well, I couldn't see no advantage in going where she was going. So I made up my mind I wouldn't try for it. Well, I've been going to school along about 4 or 5 months. I learned to read and write. And say the multiplication table up to 6 times 7 is 35. I don't reckon I could ever get any further than that if I lived forever. And then one night I lit my candle and went up to my room, and there sat Pap, his own self. He tore into me something awful for dressing up and putting on airs and going to school. And then he catched me and took me up the river to a little log cabin over on the Illinois shore. I never got no chance to run off. Pap, he was so handy with his hickory, I couldn't hardly stand it. I was all over welts. Once after he'd been drunk over in town, he come back and says how folks were saying there was going to be another trial to get me away from him and give me to the widow for my guardian. And then he got to cussing and says he'd like to see that widow get me. Whenever his liquor began to work, he most always went for the government. This time he says, "Call this a government? Why, just look at it and see what it's like. Why, here's the law standing ready to take a man's son away from him. Man's own son. Which he's had all the trouble and all the anxiety and all the expense of raising. Guess that man's got that son all raised up, ready to go to work, do something for him, give him a rest.
Well, the law up and goes to them. They call that government. Well, a man can't get his rights in a government like this. Well, looky here, there's a free nigger over there from Ohio. Mulatto. Most watch a white man. He had on the whitest shirt you ever see. And the shiniest hat. He had a gold watch and a chain. What do you think? Well, they said he was a professor in a college and could talk all kind of languages and knowed everything. That ain't the worst. They said he could vote when he was at home. Well, that let me out. Thinks I, what's this country a coming to? Why, it was election day and I was just about to go and vote myself. I wasn't too drunk to get there. When they told me there was a state in this country where they'd let that nigger vote, I brought out. I said I'll never vote again as long as I live. Them the very words I said. You all heard me. And the country may rot for all of me. Oh, I'll never vote again as long as I live.
Old Pap, he was carrying on, so he never noticed where his old limber legs was taking him. He went head over heels over a tub of salt pork and barked both shins. Rest of his speech is all the hottest kind of language. Then he let out all of a sudden with his left foot and fetched that tub a rattling kick. But it weren't good judgment. There's a boot that had a couple of his toes leaking out of the front end of it. Well, I run off from Pap pretty soon after that. I hid out on Jackson's Island. That's where I met Miss Watson's GM. He says he run off too. Well, I promised I wouldn't tell on him. I know that done wrong. I know folks would despise me and call me a low-down abolitionist, but I didn't care. I wasn't going back there again anyway. Jim and me, we found an empty section of log raft. We went off down that river together. We run nights and laid up and hid daytimes. We just let that raft float wherever the current wanted it to. It's lovely to live on a raft. We lay on our backs and smoke our pipes, looking away into the sky. Not a cloud in it. The sky looks ever so deep when you lay on your back in the moonshine. I never knowed it before. And how fur a body can hear on the water such nights. I'd go to sleep. Sometimes Jim wouldn't wake me when it was my turn to stand watch. He often done that. Then when I woke up long about daybreak, he'd be sitting there with his head down betwixt his knees, moaning and mourning. One never took no notice nor let on, but I knowed what it was for. He was thinking about his wife and children, way up yonder. And he was feeling low and homesick. 'Cause you see, he had never been away from home before in his life. I do reckon he cared just as much for his people as white folks does for theirs. Don't seem natural, but I reckon it's so.